Hey guys, turkey season is in full swing right now, and if you are planning on getting after it, make sure to pick up some Meat Eater Phelps turkey calls to stuff into the old turkey vest or into your fanny pack right now. I carry a few different things. I like to use mouth calls, and I like to use pot calls. Mouth calls or diaphragms, I like them because it gives you hand-free calling, meaning when you're working a bird up close, you can have your gun on your knee, finger on the trigger, ready to roll, and still be making turkey sounds. I like pot calls because I just like pot calls. I enjoy calling with a pot call. Whatever direction you go, including a box call, which I don't personally use too much, but they're fun and great, and I started out with them. Yanni, on the other hand, one of my main turkey hunting buddies, he loves box calls. And what's funny is I'll now and then look to him and give him the look that means get out your box call and find us a turkey. So it's not that I don't like him. I just have Yanni use his. Then I don't have to carry it. Go to Phelps Game Calls. Get calls that are made in the USA and get calls that'll get them close. Find yours at phelpsgamecalls.com today.
I'm Casey.
And I'm Tyler.
And you're listening to
The Element Podcast.
What is happening, all my woods people? Hey, Tyler, how did we used to open the Element Podcast? Do you remember? Like the first old way?
No, I don't.
Because nowadays, it's brought to you by First Light Gear.
Yeah.
And First Light has their new Western stuff available for viewing on the website. You can't purchase it yet.
It wasn't always brought by First Light, though.
No, it wasn't.
In fact, I'll talk about this later, but in the year of 2021, in mid-season, was about the first time I ever started wearing First Light stuff. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you that story later
I remember that. I think maybe the intro was, we used to do it a little slower.
There was a couple of
some
weeks that were
music
different, but then at one point early on, we started what we do now, and it's pretty much carried on.
And I think that it used to end differently. That was the big thing, because now we have like the old catchphrase, "This is your element, live in it." And we didn't have that like in the first couple.
Yeah.
But that's the podcast, which is its own just beast, right? I mean, appreciate y'all being here listening. But if you didn't know, here very recently, actually this past week, the Element YouTube channel surpassed a goal of ours from a long time ago. It's just been something we worked towards for quite a while. We eclipsed the 100,000 subscriber mark.
Eclipsed. I love it, dude.
Which is a big deal, man. I mean, I'm not trying to brag on ourselves, but to me, it means a whole lot. It really does.
Yeah, it's something that I've kind of been looking forward to for a long time.
Yeah.
Hoping that we would get there. Mm-hmm. So I guess we're done.
And we did it. We're over. We're done. We're not going to upload anything anymore. Just kidding. Actually, we just had a video hit the streaming services of YouTube yesterday. It's a deer meat cannon video, which is a little bit, different than what we do.
Wasn't tuna that was going in there?
It might have been. It may or may not have even been meat. It might be beyond meat. I don't know.
It's beyond.
You just going to have to watch the video and see.
To meat and beyond.
But go check that out if you haven't. But today, we're joined by Greg Latham.
What's up?
And Eric Gentry.
What's up?
Michael is with us in spirit. However, he has been...
Oh, I hear him, y'all.
Oh, I thought he's gonna sound like buffaloes. He's Michael's sick. He had to stay at home today. But he's still working, which is cool. He's a hard worker, man. But he's not going to be here. He woke Eric up being sick this morning. That's how bad it was. But we're going to recount a little bit of the stuff that led us to this 100,000 mark. We've been kind of throwing this stuff around. Eric put together a pretty sick Instagram reel the other day of like kind of some highlights from YouTube. And we thought that it might be kind of fun to recount some of that stuff, tell some stories. And, Greg's been here. You're working on your third year working with us. So we have 2 years of history of doing videos. We've known you since 2020, right?
Yeah, we've been, chatting on Instagram probably back to 2020, I think.
I think when that was when the hog meetup was 2020?
That was 21.
That was 21.
Was it 21?
February 2020.
Yeah, Eric
And that's
was
when
here, right?
Eric
Yeah.
first showed up. Was for that.
Ice Mageddon.
And I figure you'll might have some little bit to add to that. But what I'm saying is, like, the first bit here, you'll probably hear more from Tyler and I. Not that y'all are not welcome to speak, because at that point in time, and somewhere through there, y'all were people who watched us on YouTube. So you probably have maybe some interesting thoughts of like when that kind of stuff was happening or whatever. And then as the years progress, you'll have your own takes on things that happened. Because Eric and Greg and Michael too kind of see things differently than we do. Tyler and I do, because we're on camera so much. Like, they notice like some really silly things that I don't know about myself sometimes. So it's always cool to hear.
We talk about it on Whitetail Bums quite a bit.
Yeah. The Whitetail Bums podcast. Tune into that next week. Right?
We can
One
do
a
it.
month, right? Isn't that what you're
Yeah,
doing?
we can do it.
Yeah.
Next year, I think.
Next year.
Yeah,
Okay.
2025.
Tyler, congratulations. by the
Thanks,
way.
man.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
You're welcome.
Yep. Congratulations to you,
Thank
too.
you very much.
For lots of things, man.
What is the earliest thing on YouTube that you have?
The earliest memory? I have... So I guess I would start with the first thing we ever put on YouTube, which was this, like, guys, the world of producing videos has changed immensely in the last 8 years, right? So at the time, I was very involved in higher production cinematic style video, and I loved it. I wanted to, produce videos like, Rock House Motion or somebody. And it's morphed, right? Because you got to make a living, and you get better at this stuff. And in the end, what I want to do the most is usually not what the most people want to see. And if I'm putting videos on YouTube, then it's not necessarily for me. It's for a lot of other people, including 100,000 people at this point. So I remember us putting together this little 30-second teaser. And and there's not really a lot to say about it other than the fact that you and I started out hunting. We met up, we fished, and then when deer season came, we decided you were kind of like living between the coast and here, I think, still maybe. Or maybe you had moved full-time back up
I
there.
had moved back. Cassie and I got married that November. So, a lot of the highlights from that happened in November and December.
Yeah. Yep. And so we actually had the best November and December on Texas public land we probably ever had as far as just sightings. We had a spot, man. We had a spot. And it was good. And Scar came out and gave us a really tough string jump at 30 yards,
Just
I think
31,
it was.
I think, is right there.
I mean, came out of his skin. So, but that was that was the pinnacle, And so I couldn't believe that we could see a deer that nice on public land in Texas at the time. And we made a little 30-second video, and so that'd be the earliest thing I remember, really. After that, there's a lot of other stuff.
We filmed something before that, though, that came out after that.
Oh, black and white?
Black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first thing on my list. But you are correct in saying that that's the first video.
Yeah.
But black and white came out later than that because you spent some time on the edit. What?
Yeah. I'm just watching some of the old videos.
Yeah.
Like, we used to do a PLC, Public Land Chronicles series.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of, I got these kind of going while I'm watching.
Black and white meant a lot to me because it was kind of my first time leaving Texas to just go do something kind of, to use a word from high school, random, right? Like, it wasn't a Colorado elk hunt. It's the only other thing I'd really left the state to go do outdoors-wise. I did a little tuna fishing in Louisiana. But anyways, it was just a different thing because you and I just had no money, and we split gas and went and stayed in the campground and fished and filmed some of it. And it was just a much different thing. And it kind of opened my eyes to a lot of stuff.
Well, in this PLC particularly that I'm watching right now.
Which one is it?
It's Sheds and Deads.
Sheds and Deads, because Sheds and Beds did so good.
That's right.
Guys, we had a video called Sheds and Beds that came out.
It was we knew that everybody knew about this video after it got 800 views.
That's right.
So everybody in the world should know what Sheds and Deads, how that kind of is, stupid abstract stuff that we used to do.
I mean, I bet you the first 12 videos and podcast titles were this way too.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to be cute and like creative with titles.
Nobody knew what we were talking
No
about.
one has a clue what's going on.
I listened to a podcast called Knowing Faith, and the guy who runs it, there's 3 of them, but the guy who runs it, the other 2 make fun of him all the time for making like cutesy titles or whatever, just funny, goofy titles, right?
Doesn't work.
But in Sheds and Deads, there's a buck. We had some of our best trail camera pulls ever.
Really?
And yeah, Monkey is in here. You remember that buck?
I do remember Monkey.
Teenager is in here. And then there's some other big bucks. But our cameras got flooded at TR. You remember that? Like way flooded. Like I opened one up and it like fell out of the camera.
Yeah.
But this is a cool video because there's like tree frogs and stuff. I just remember our PLC was just like us just walking around on public land. And I mean, literally like 300 views is a lot for one of these videos right now.
His vlog gets a lot of times too because it was just like, we're going to document no matter what we're doing. Yeah, it's fun, though. I mean, it made us learn how to actually tell stories.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And, make something out of nothing a lot of times. And then you kind of have to figure out the balance of when you actually have nothing and when there is something to be made out of the nothing, and then, like, not too far after that, Nameless comes up, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, it would be that fall.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So we did PLCs probably as like some summer scouting of 2017.
And we did PLCs probably up to like 2019 maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, they were a series for several years.
We about near just transitioned from PLCs to season playlist, which is, just kind of a different thing that we did, just trying stuff. But anyways, Nameless would be like, I don't know, a monumental moment.
Nameless didn't release, though, for a while.
Okay.
Till 2018.
That's true. We held it for a while.
Because I'm looking through some of this stuff, and I got, like, the first time we ever decided to go to low country and found out it was bad to the bone, and just thinking about, like, how that translated into an encounter with a deer called Chong that was a really cool buck. I wish we could have put it together on him. And honestly, the biggest buck on Texas Public we've ever encountered. But we didn't actually encounter him. We just had him on trail camera a few times.
Yeah.
Absolute giant.
Who knows what that deer
you.
would score, because it's hard to tell in East State. But he looks like a Boone and Crockett deer.
For sure.
But,
huge
he might end up being like 150
typical.
Because bodies
Maybe.
are weird. But,
Dude, I think he looks bigger than that deer.
Yeah.
To me. He's huge.
Probably right.
Anyway, that deer being the ranch buck. Sorry, I don't realize that y'all are listening and not seeing. But yeah, so that stuff kind of released on the channel prior to Nameless. Another thing.
Chong is before Nameless?
So Chong didn't, but I was just saying that first video,
Okay.
I was watching that earlier, and it kind of led to that. We never really had a bunch of great big buck encounters, but that was one of them from that first scouting that we did there. Going for Guad, Urban Series in Minneapolis. Those are a couple of my favorite fishing videos.
Urban Series was fun, man. It used to be, so we're maximizers anytime we go and do stuff, right? Like, you can't just go on a shed hunting trip. You have to stop halfway and scout this other piece of public in this other state and this, that, and the other, right? And that was just kind of a product of that thing. We were up there for a conference, which was a cool thing in itself of, like, I don't know. It was like, wow, we're legitimate. We exist. We're getting invited to conferences, And we were like, okay, well, we have, like, a day between the last,
we flew out the day that we did.
Yeah, well, it was like a 24-hour period. I think we had, like, an evening and then in the morning, and then we flew out, right?
I don't think we fished that evening.
We fished an evening because that's when we caught that big old Gaspergoo or whatever it is.
Was it?
I think. We caught a drum or something. I don't know.
I mean, this video starts and we're leaving the hotel and we fish throughout the day.
There might be some Hollywood involved in there too. Who knows?
I don't think so because we're leaving right at dark
The
in the plane.
but it was like let's stay a little longer and just enjoy our time so you can find some fish. And
You're wearing the same clothes too.
yeah, it's because I only packed 2 pairs.
We're both wearing the same clothes as when we started the day on here. Blue shirt, man. But yeah, I mean,
Blue
that's
looks good on film, man.
what's that?
Blue looks good on film.
It does, man.
That's right. That's
you
why
look
you wore it in
great.
the
You caught
video.
a ton of fish that day.
We caught like
You caught
13
a
species
billion
of fish.
species. You did a good job that day,
Well,
man.
thanks.
And then going for Guad, which is the Guadalupe bass of Texas, native fish here. We did a pretty cool video there. That was the first time we ever shot 4K, I think.
Yeah, I think we put it in the title
Yeah.
because we were like, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Was it 2018?
Yep. Mm-hmm. That was a pretty fun deal, though. I mean, those 2 videos right there were like, they were channel builders. Mm-hmm. I think, they got like around 10,000 views pretty quick for us at the time, which was like, we thought, can't believe these things are doing this,
Isn't Spiked Out in there somewhere too?
Yeah, we did that in 17. Where's that?
That
Yeah, there it is. Yep.
I mean, that was another channel builder too. Like we were. How many views does it have now?
17,000.
So it got to 10 pretty quick.
Yeah.
And we were like really impressed with that. We thought that was awesome. Still
Yep.
is. I mean, even now we get 10,000 views on a video. Feel pretty good about it.
What
you
other
know?
fishing trip happened in 2018 that you really liked?
Fishing trip in 18? Uh-huh. Are you looking at it and you're trying to bait me
Yeah,
into this?
I think you wrote it down on your list. At least you were talking about it earlier.
I thought that was in 19. That's 18?
Yep.
See, this is why I'm confused because I get it off. We went to the Black Canyon at some point in time.
Yep.
And that was 18. Okay. Yeah, I guess that kind of does make sense. Yep, of course. I mean, that was like the first backcountry trip I ever did. And we were down in the canyon for 2 nights, right?
Yeah, I
We
think that's
hiked
right.
down, fished, slept, fished all day, slept, and hiked out. Mm-hmm. And I carried like 20 pounds of food.
All of it in peanut butter.
All of it in peanut butter. It was the dumbest thing, man.
Yeah.
And I got cramps on the way down because I didn't eat enough before we went down. So it's like, what are we doing here, man? But that was sick in itself. I mean, that was like one of the more cinematography loaded things we've done. And 20 pounds of food and 50 pounds of camera gear. Because we brought the bazooka down there with us.
Yeah, we did. And tripods and gimbals and all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. That is a cool video. It still does pretty well for us.
Mm-hmm. We didn't talk about Nameless enough, man. I don't know.
Well, we're coming up on it here on the channel.
Did this Black Canyon came out before Nameless?
Yep. Another thing that came out before Nameless is another media summit we did in the Bozeman area, and it's titled Tons of Trout on YouTube. It came out right before Nameless, and it's not been a super channel builder or anything, but I just love. I will go back and watch that video every year because we were bumming so hard at the time, man.
Yeah.
Like you and I, we rented a minivan. We flew up there.
With points off of y'all's car.
Yeah, our credit card. And we rented a minivan and drove around and fished for trout for a couple days before the summit and maybe a couple days after or something like that. But essentially, we camped in that minivan. So we would pull up to rest areas, state rest areas, and camp in the back, laying down with the seats down in the back of that minivan. And it was pretty tiring. Luckily, we were young men at the time. And I love it because we caught some big trout. We caught a bunch of really awesome trout. We wade fished the Madison and just had a good time, man. It was awesome.
And didn't realize how close we were getting to eaten by bears.
Yep.
While we were there.
Yeah. Scary.
There's apparently more grizzly bears in there than what it looks like.
There's more than there are here, for sure.
That's right.
Then the very next video is Nameless.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry, I was trying to get to it so much.
Yeah,
It's just,
no, it's good. It's an important
it's
part
almost
of it.
a 1 year lapse between filming and release, I guess, huh?
I think that's right. Yeah.
That's weird.
maybe more.
So it's 2018?
The first videos say 7 years ago, which I guess they're coming up on. No, they would have been filmed almost 8 years ago. It will be 8 years this fall, right? So yeah. And then that Nameless says 5 years ago right here.
Nameless came out what day? What date did Nameless come out?
Let me look. Let me click on it real quick.
Because Tons of Trout would have been July of 18.
Yeah, that's when we did it, right?
Or August, early August.
September 3rd, 2018.
That's when Nameless came out? Mm-hmm. It's a good time to release a video.
Yeah, it did pretty well.
Uh-huh. Man, Tyler, you're the hunter in that video. Why don't you tell us more about Nameless?
Well, I can say this. I remember, we really at that point we were like, okay, well, we can do some stuff here. We're making some cool video. We killed a big deer on public. It's my first public land deer. And I thought, man, this video is cool. Somebody should, like just business wise, is like, man, somebody should, pay for a title sponsor or whatever this thing. And we couldn't. I know there's a couple of brands that we couldn't get them to pay for. And I look back now and I'm like, I understand why. But the video has 104,000 views, so it did pretty well.
At this point in time, I thought things worked differently. I kind of had like a Nat Geo model in my head almost, where we were going to sell that footage to X brand for them to distribute however they want to.
Well, and I think at the time the model for the hunting industry was a lot like that too. Where it's like, hey, this company produces this video and then Yeti puts it out or whatever, right? So in either way, it didn't work for us.
No.
So we got a little bit of YouTube revenue. That's about it.
Because that second angle footage, man, it was just it was kind of rough. People couldn't get over it.
We didn't.
And are you ready for the light?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh man, see, this is that YouTube stuff that's funny to look back on. Tyler and I drove.
Dang, giving away the secret.
Yeah, man, that's what this is about. We filmed Nameless, and then we sat around and decided that, through the editorial process, that there was some plot holes, and one of those is like a motel scene. So we drove on location.
It's like we needed to get from one day to the other on the video.
So we instead of just going to a motel. We drove.
What? I don't even. Was it an option? Because I feel like it wasn't an option. I don't know.
Maybe we were gonna get some B-roll or something else. We
drove to like Canada.
We drove very far north to go to a motel and filmed literally 5 seconds of footage. That is good. Maybe not even being there.
It for sure should. Nobody's really ever mentioned much about it except for you and Slade Daniel. I think.
It's pretty funny though. So
that was fun.
That was a big deal for us, man.
There was a saying we had that came from that video.
Rut Raging Rooster.
Rut Raging Rooster.
That's right.
We used to say it all the time. We hadn't said it in a couple of years, but. We had this rooster that challenged our truck going down the road.
It was really funny.
It was real cool.
You know where that rooster was, don't you?
Can we say because I don't remember.
It was at the plum thicket.
Oh, really? Spooky.
Yeah.
There's
crazy.
a lot of things that are mad down there.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Hey guys, turkey season is in full swing right now, and if you are planning on getting after it, make sure to pick up some Meat Eater Phelps turkey calls to stuff into the old turkey vest or into your fanny pack right now. I carry a few different things. I like to use mouth calls, and I like to use pot calls. Mouth calls or diaphragms, I like them because it gives you hand-free calling, meaning when you're working a bird up close, you can have your gun on your knee, finger on the trigger, ready to roll, and still be making turkey sounds. I like pot calls because I just like pot calls. I enjoy calling with a pot call. Whatever direction you go, including a box call, which I don't personally use too much, but they're fun and great, and I started out with them. Yanni, on the other hand, one of my main turkey hunting buddies, he loves box calls. And what's funny is I'll now and then look to him and give him the look that means get out your box call and find us a turkey. So it's not that I don't like them. I just have Yanni use his. Then I don't have to carry it. Go to Phelps Game Calls. Get calls that are made in the USA and get calls that'll get them close. Find yours at phelpsgamecalls.com today.
It's strange to think that. Anyways,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
all
that's
this
cool.
stuff connects.
Yeah, and the Rut Raging Rooster was, I always wanted to make a T-shirt out of it. I wanted a like a somewhat cartoonized red rooster pheasant, like with his wings flapping, him standing up, his chest sticking out, and having this like mad look with an eyebrow that's like slanted down, like mad, you know. And I wanted to have that drawn up and put in a shirt with the word Rut Raging Rooster under it.
Yeah, if you want one, go get it made yourself.
Yeah. But maybe one day, you know, if
Yeah.
we start selling merch
here we
again.
go.
So yeah,
It's
I
up
got
on
you
the
pulled
TV
up
now.
here so you can see it.
Okay, there's Nameless. You didn't want to talk about Can't Trust the Weatherman? 450.
Yeah, that's a pretty good amount of views for a PLC, you know.
I know it. Hey, that's a big deer in that thumbnail.
Yeah, he's nice, man.
Oh, Nameless came up before Tons of Trout.
No, we're going this way.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
and so then we have a buddy who lets us shoot does at his house in East Texas because we didn't have anywhere else to shoot any. And
You shot the world's toughest doe.
I shot a tough doe.
Yeah.
And then that
toe.
one's a big one.
Toe.
I killed an elk. I self-filmed and killed an elk with my parents. We don't have the shot on film, but everything else is on film. And it's actually a pretty cool video. And I don't know. That video gave me confidence that, like, I wasn't just the hunter and you're a guy who knows how to do all this
Right.
stuff. It's like, I can go
Sure.
do this, you know?
You bought that camera and you still got it somewhere.
Yeah. I don't.
That video has 50,000 views.
How about that?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well,
We could probably take that 2018 out of there and people would think it was from this year.
Yeah.
And you know,
Look
you
at-
might have somebody who works for the state that thinks that you killed it in February.
I think that we were doing exactly. We were doing the thumbnail thing better then than maybe
We are
it's
now.
done now.
Yeah.
Because look at all this text in these
I
thumbnails. It's good
know.
text.
Come on.
And also, GoPros are really good at taking thumbnail screen grabs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, this podcast might get kind of long if we keep doing this, but
Okay.
I'm sorry. But this video is
I hate
called is called Them Bods.
Yeah.
We saw a giant on Texas Public 2 days before the season.
Mm-hmm.
So we were like, we got to go back. And we end up driving this stretch of road because we could see him from the road.
And two vehicles.
In two vehicles, and we're going back and forth, and you can't turn around until you get like several miles down the road. There's a turnaround to get turned around. So that we didn't miss him coming out, we had two vehicles going back and forth down this road for like the last 40 minutes of daylight, and we never saw him the day before season. We went back in there to hunt. That next morning, which was the first day of the season, it was 95 degrees. It was so humid, and I dropped KC. We drove bikes, right?
Yeah,
I dropped you off in the truck
you rode
with
your
all the
bike.
gear, and you were going to go hang stands, and we couldn't park there, so I had to drive way back up and park in this parking area, and then take my bike and go down this road all the way to where you were, like maybe 2 miles. And so I'm just coasting, getting it. It's dark. I got my headlamp off because I can see decent, you know. I can see the road in front of me. And, dude, I almost smoked a guy walking in on the road.
Yeah.
It was dark where I couldn't see him. And all of a sudden, this headlamp comes on like 10 yards in front of me because he heard me coming. And I was like, I almost wrecked my bike trying to miss him, dude. And
yeah,
I was
the
like,
same
sorry.
guy I also have an interaction with. So we didn't see anything the whole morning. And then you left to go get the truck, and I took all the stands down. Well, I had a rumble bad, and I had to get down and go use the bathroom. And that dude caught me pooping in the woods. And just, he popped out, because I thought I was alone in the wilderness, you know?
yeah.
So I wasn't, like, super hidden. And, like, well, you know, you're in the woods. What do you hide from? You don't know which direction to hide from, right? And this guy pops out like 150 yards, catches me, and then still walks over and talks to me.
Yeah,
Man, what a weird thing.
If you just kind of waved and walked on, it'd be a little less awkward.
A little less weird. Yeah.
Probably wanted to see what you were seeing, man.
Probably. Well,
That was so. That was the opening day of 2018. It was the last opening day I ever hunted, I think. What year, Greg, did you start watching this?
It was probably right around this time. I remember watching. I don't know if we're there yet, but Meat Buck.
okay.
That was the same season. Same season.
Yeah.
I remember seeing y'all actually saw a deer on public land and killed it.
Weird, right?
I thought, man, these guys know what they're doing.
That was our first Rage Fest of commentary, for sure.
Eric, what about you? Did you start watching before this or after this?
It was after this.
Okay.
We'll get to it. Stop us when we get there.
We had there's a lot of stuff going on at this time. There's some Kansas hunting going on, and then there's also some Texas public land stuff. And Tyler had a pursuit for a deer named Teenager that we'd found the previous off season. And so you built like a storyline around that deer. So it made us do a lot of Texas public land hunting for a couple of reasons. But one being that deer, and the other thing is just that, we didn't have a lot of other opportunities besides.
And we wasted
Texas
a ton of time, but we also learned a lot.
We did. We're doing some cool things, man. I don't even know. It is documented somewhere. I don't know. It might be the previous season, but we were taking what could hardly be called a kayak and taking it across a creek.
I think that was
dark.
this season.
Is it found Teenager?
Hold on a second. No, it's not that one. It may have been the season before.
It isn't a PLC, I'm sure.
Yep. I saw it earlier. It's called Hard Hang, I think. Where is it? Right here. This one, 3 minutes and 16 seconds. It's
we're getting ads in here.
There we go.
Yeah, get them guys out of here.
So, yeah, that's on the edge of the creek right there.
Oh man,
getting snooted by a little buck. Looks like
should have shot him.
Should have. It's illegal.
Is he not? Is he not a spike? Yeah, he's broke off one side. He's legal.
Oh, and we were being so careful that we didn't even put the kayak stuff in here.
Oh yeah, because
we
didn't
want people to know
where our one antlered spike was.
Dude, for real. Anyway, it was fun days, but talking about tough
Look
days
at this
too.
clip right here. So you've got 3 different arrows in your quiver.
Sure enough.
On a hand-me-down bow. 2 of them on the same spine. One's a different spine.
Y'all, I've been broke.
I know.
That's
it,
a nice
man.
woody in the front right there, dude. Golly.
Is.
So that was we were hunting that deer. We were learning a lot about some land on public in Texas that we were hunting, and we ended up probably not for a few years. It didn't pay off, but it paid off eventually, and we'll talk about that later. That's a Eric and Greg story that we'll get to later on. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so working through this stuff. This is the infamous no grunt call fest.
Ridiculous.
Then here we have the oldest buck ever, probably the oldest buck I've ever shot, Frankenstein. This was our first viral video. And what was weird about it is we put it out, and for about 10 months, it had 2,500 views. And then all of a sudden, the next November, 10 months later, we started getting these raging comments and stuff on our YouTube channel. Start to look, and in 3 weeks, we get 100,000 views on this video.
Yeah.
And it was
crazy.
there were some mean people on this thing because, that's what happens. If you shoot a deer, if you ever shoot a deer and he dies fairly quickly, but you don't get to recover him till the next day. If you don't do that on video, then nobody's mad about it. But if you do it on video, then you're the worst.
And I'll speak for myself. I've learned a lot about deer hunting since that time.
Sure.
And now I know that we could go find that deer that night by the hit. But at that point in time, I didn't.
Well, I was by myself.
Yeah, you were conveying it to me, and I was trying to tell you what the best thing to do is.
I just knew that if I didn't bump him, he was going to be on the property. Mm-hmm. If I'd bumped him, then I didn't know where he would go in the dark, so I didn't go out there.
There you go, Greg.
There's Greg's
there it is.
videos talking about the Texas public land buck on YouTube.
Oh, we've changed the title of that.
Yeah, but it was called the meat buck for a while, and you had some pretty good discourse with a few people about why you shouldn't or should call that the meat buck.
Yeah, people apparently don't like it when you eat your deer. I don't know. It's weird, right?
Hunters don't like it when you eat it. Antis don't like it when you don't eat it.
That's right.
Golly, stuck in between a rock and a hard place.
I like to look at some of the stuff and see the stuff that we tried that didn't work. How to build reverse history with big bucks. Like, nobody cares about that at all.
Yeah. Well, we thought, this is kind of a cool theory we have.
That's a deer that died that I missed. And we found his dead head. We're like, oh, man, he got eaten by coyotes. And then, so nothing happened. But that's one I have on my list right there. Hooked. Texas turkey hunting film. If you haven't watched this, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that is our best video that has the least amount of views.
Yeah, I would say.
Hooked is awesome. And it has one of the baddest slow-mo shots you'll ever see on a turkey.
Yep.
And Tyler and I doubled on the same day on Texas turkeys. Pretty sweet.
It was so much fun. We caught some fish, ate some ceviche.
Yeah.
There's a state record you caught.
Yeah. Big old grass carp.
This one's funny, man. You caught a wild pig with your bare
we should
hands.
put that as a short.
We should for sure, dude.
Yeah.
That was a funny day, man, to watch. You just went out there. It's kind of, I think you were grabbing a camera or something, and you end up coming across some pigs, and all you had was your phone, so you video yourself catching one with your bare hands.
I caught a piglet and ran him down.
This is cool.
Hey, that huge camo review got us a lot of views.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people that found us because of that. It's only 9,000 views, but like a couple people said, yeah, I watched that video you did on camo. That trout, is that what you're fixing to talk about?
Yeah, that was a cool day. Caught about a 23-inch brown trout in California. Put that on.
Monster.
It was fun. Not a channel builder. This shooter pass was a moment that I like to think about when I think about where, we kind of cut our teeth hunting and stuff. This happened in 2017, and this deer is actually the deer that we saw the next year and drove the highway stretch back and forth over and over and over again.
We re-released this.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And it still didn't do very well, but you came to full draw twice on this deer underneath us. We were only 33 feet in the air, but
I used to feel real bad about this because I was like, man, Tyler could have shot that buck. And now it's like we've shot quite a few deer since then.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter.
But it kind of hurt for a while there.
Yeah,
huh?
it did.
But just awesome, a really good video for our early video stuff of us, having a Texas public land buck coming underneath us that was legal, but you decided to pass because he kind of looked young.
Yeah,
so.
I was being dumb.
That's all right, man.
I don't know. There was at that point in my life too. That was all I had was Texas hunt license. I didn't have any. I would know out of state, and like my season would be over if I shot that deer. And I kind of wasn't ready to do that at that point in time. Now I'd smoke him.
Here we are in 2019.
Yeah.
My buddy Anthony, who I had previously done some filming with and stuff, he and I went to Nebraska, and he shot a diker, and we had a good trip, man. We saw a bunch of deer. Early season September velvet hunt. He shot a basically a spike with velvet.
Yep.
And
I remember watching these videos when they came out.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you were like a loyal subscriber at this point in time.
Well, I was, I guess you could say that. I was, I'm a hunter and I watch YouTube a lot. And they're posting hunting videos from this season. And I started watching.
That was Tyler's whole intent was to go get an early jump on stuff for you.
Wasn't that like September?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And it was early September. And yeah, the idea was that we'd have this episodic series that released throughout the season, which we have. This is something, if you guys are interested in us doing that, it's really hard to pull off, to get videos turned around quick. If you're interested in that, I can't say that we 100% will, but if you'll send us a message and say, hey, I would love to see videos that are turned around like 3, 5, 6 days later or whatever, so that I can, feel, it's just like, to me, it's cool as a viewer to watch something that happened a couple of days ago. It's kind of like that Rut Report or the Rut Fresh that we do on Mark's podcast, It's like, this is exciting, it's hype, whatever. But at the same time, maybe you guys like something that's as good as we can possibly produce, which might take a couple of months, and we can do that too. So if you got any thoughts about that, feel free to send us a message on Instagram or wherever you can reach us, website, whatever. But anyway, this series, I can remember this was cool. I hunted pinch in between these two water sources.
This is where we transitioned to season instead of public or PLC. And you made a cool intro for our videos. It's the first time
That's right.
we
First
ever had
intro.
a intro. Mm-hmm. And then a few years later, we said intros were bad. And now we might put intros on stuff.
Yeah, it's a ebb and flow
yeah,
for
it's
sure.
weird how that works.
But I remember these deer running through this water and chasing in early September, and there was one hardhorn and one velvet, I think. And the hardhorn was he was like a big 1.5-year-old 6, so still a very small deer. And I wanted to shoot him bad, but I was like, it's pretty hard in here. I got some time. I've seen a lot of deer. Surely I'll see a 2 or 3-year-old buck. And I never ended up. There was a billion deer, and just they didn't. There wasn't any big ones. Mm-hmm. And then we went out west.
Yes.
A couple of weeks later.
Yeah, that was. One of my most epic hunts I've ever been on, and I can't believe elk hunting is just one of my favorite things to do, and I love it so much. And that one was just one of the best. I don't know if I'll ever top it. I think it's because I was still kind of young and the world was still real big,
Mm-hmm.
And we went out and just did the thing, and backcountry, the whole works. Killed ourselves pretty much. Our bodies took a toll on that trip.
I was working out this morning thinking about the old knee that I hurt back
got
there.
The measles right then around that time.
That's right.
And I didn't kill an elk on the trip. It made me real sad. It was one of the toughest servings of tag soup I've ever gotten. But you may have seen the clip of the biggest elk you've ever seen in your life on the Element Channel. Because he was just an amazing animal to be on the side of the mountain with.
And just ripped a bugle at 25 yards.
And everybody's like, why aren't you shooting? It's because there was a tree in between me and the elk. You can't see that.
There's a good 5 yards difference between you and me at least. So.
Mm-hmm. And then I came home and shot a pig and dropped him with my bow. That was cool.
Yeah, that's a little
Not
reprieve.
really a big moment, but I have this on my list.
This stuff, the trip to Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is fun times, man. We'd actually previously been to Iowa, which is where Sheds and Beds video was, I think, right?
Is it?
I think it's where that video is.
Oh, I know we have an Iowa Scout video. I forgot that Sheds and Beds was the Iowa one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we went there, but we actually went there 2 years prior to me having the tag. So the tag took a year longer than I thought it would to get. I get
Sheds
the tag.
and Beds is East Texas.
Is it?
Iowa is PLC Iowa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which has 1,100 views. Yeah.
Yeah. So we go to Iowa in late October, and we're going to spend the last week there, pretty much. And guys, we are so broke that we're staying in the worst hotel we can find, and we're doing a night-to-night payment, and I'm just paying cash. I'm like, I don't know for sure if I tag out, I can't afford to just let 2 nights go down the drain or whatever. So we're maxed out. In fact, you weren't supposed to be on that hunt with me, and we had an arrow partner. Mm-hmm. And actually, I'll just go ahead and say it because I'm thankful for this.
Oh, yeah.
This moment. But day 6, and our buddy Brian gave us a few $100 so that you could come on this trip.
Yeah, we split it in. I think you helped finance the trip, and it helped me make sense to be gone from having to work.
Yeah, so that way I could have a camera guy.
Yeah,
and as you can see, if you were on the YouTube channel, you could look through that video series, and it didn't really garner a whole lot of views, but there's some really cool action, and I almost killed a really big deer on private that we had bedded. Or we'd figured out where he was kind of bedding.
That moment right there is a top moment of what we did, have done. Just being, we've done a lot of run and gun setups, but we were putting the pieces together, and we did it, and that was one of the first, man.
And then the very next day, we were setting up in the snow and basically rattled him in by moving branches around and stuff. And he caught us before we ever even got fully set up. We're almost set up. And so that was a sad thing. But I actually had I decided when I came home I was going to go hunt some Texas public, and I shot my first Texas public land buck.
Way to go!
Early November that next year, or that same year, and that was a big moment. And that video, I would say, was a channel builder. It did pretty well for us. I didn't get the shot on video, and that tends to happen when you still care about killing bucks, even if they're off video, and you just want to. And the video still, people have been very kind on it, So, but we weren't done in Iowa yet. But we did have that hunt, and we ended up going to Kansas on
Eric
the heels
has a
of that.
problem.
No, I'm just pointing something out.
What?
That you guys used to do.
Yeah, for sure. That's
episode thing?
That's what
Yeah.
we were kind of talking about earlier. Is like this episodic
Yeah.
series that is the season that we went, turned around really quickly.
I was just looking at this thinking like, oh, now we just make all that one video. Like
Yeah.
that whole Kansas trip right there, there's 4 videos. We would just make that one video and it would be sick.
Yeah.
But it'd be longer. I don't know, 22 minutes is pretty long for us back then. Mm-hmm. I had 2 giant bucks close and didn't shoot either one of them.
And
That's dumb.
you stalked a buck that was going to come in until the doe caught us or something, right?
Yes, that's a big deer.
Yeah.
It's a really big deer.
So, yeah, but that was that year, that was 19.
Mm-hmm.
That was that year in Kansas, I think that was a year I didn't kill. That was maybe the most encounters with big bucks that I've ever had in Kansas.
That's when I started watching. Was when you guys were in Kansas that year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was great, dude. It was cold too, It was very cold.
Yeah.
There was a cold front came in while I was in Texas finishing up that hunt. And so then we had that trip. He had 2 really close encounters at like 50 with 2 different really big bucks. Decided not to fling the arrow. And
Yeah, man, I was, now I would shoot. But then I just had a different setup, and I just wasn't as good a shot. I didn't have a bow that fit me right, and, it's just a different thing. And I'm glad I didn't shoot at those deer. But it stunk because at the end of that season, well, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So we need to talk
So
about
yeah,
that
so
second
after
trip.
that trip, we had to leave out. Is this? No, one of these days we had to leave.
It was it was
Was it that day?
it was that day there.
That I got caught doing my wrap up interview.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. And big bucks fighting on public land. I had bucks fighting all morning by me on public, and you had to go teach that night in class in church, and so we had to leave the stand at like 9 or something like that. And so at 9, I pull the camera around and start doing an interview, and a giant 10. I hear him walking through all this nasty brush at like 40 yards. Long story short, didn't get him killed.
Yeah, and then we went to go. You came to pick me up. I think we went and got changed, and we were going to like put out some corn. And then that giraffe buck was there whenever we showed up over there to do that.
Yeah, but he still had a half.
He had half then.
Yeah. And so
Look at the neck on that thing.
I know, absolutely.
That's a toad.
Yeah. But I ended up going back in mid-November to Iowa. And so I had like 2 or 3 days there. I was so broke, man. I was sleeping in the back seat of my truck in a Casey's General Store parking lot, and sleeping terribly because big trucks were coming in all night and stuff. And I wake up one morning and I go hunt a ridge, which I'm not a ridge hunter. I don't know how to do that stuff that much. I just kind of learned some stuff over the years and then use my knowledge of deer and try to put it all together. And anyway, I had a shooter coming in, and he gets about broadside at about 20. And I set the camera and clip on, and my camera falls forward. It wasn't fully tensioned. So it falls forward. And then about that time, he starts walking towards me, and I try to move the camera up. By the time I get it up and get clipped back on, he's 5 yards looking at my sticks and follows the sticks up the tree and sees the Sasquatch sitting there at 12 feet and takes off. And then the very next morning, I killed public land buck in Iowa about 80 yards off the road. It was awesome hunt.
Motorcycle buck.
Sounded like a motorcycle coming in. He was grunting so
Hey, didn't
long
we
and
just
hard.
do something with this footage? We were looking at it the other day.
It's on.
It's on that teaser.
That post you're talking about.
That 100,
that's right. That's right.
100K
Yeah.
celebrate.
It's cool.
post.
That's some of the
It
coolest
is.
footage,
That,
man.
I mean, this is another one of our first channel builders. So we got a lot of views with that
it's
video.
still number 13 on our channel right now. in
Really?
views. Yeah, I just
Golly.
looked at it. Yeah. And when you killed that deer, I was on my way to go hunting, and I remember being at the gas station when you called me. We were freaking out.
We were, and I remember coming in late. I just went straight to Kansas.
Yeah.
And came in late, and you were, I think, sleeping on the couch when I got there, and we started hunting Kansas again and had some crazy encounters with some big bucks. But
I almost got stepped on.
yeah, almost got stepped on by a deer.
Yeah. And then that right there for me was kind of a pivotal moment. Like, I hit a deer high in the shoulder, and lost him, and I think he got eaten by coyotes in Kansas. And it was like, that's probably the lowest I've ever felt as a hunter. Like, because we were working so hard to try to make the element go, and I hadn't killed anything all year. And that's the same year as my elk hunt that I didn't kill, and it's just like I knew after that I was done killing stuff for the year. Like I placed 0 tags on animals that year, and you can't do that if you're trying to make a living doing this.
Yeah, but
you
dude,
know?
and we were trying.
Yeah.
But we also had a lot of responsibilities. You were trying to make a little money here and there doing carpentry work,
I had
church
to.
work,
I mean,
or whatever
we were
else.
just, for us to have the lights on, I had to work and do the thing at the same time. And then I remember talking to you a lot. I mean, I went through a time of probably pretty good depression after this, where I just I didn't know if I wanted to do this anymore, and thankfully you were like, telling me to stop being stupid.
Well, and this will come up here in a little bit, but this led to an extremely the low led to an extreme high at some point.
Yeah.
And you were debating even just quitting bow hunting, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But in between when you decided to bow hunt again, we did
picked
some
up a shotgun.
shotgunning on some pigs.
You feel better.
We had our friend Brian Coke come down and shoot some pigs with us.
Mm-hmm.
He's an upland hunter. He's never really killed big game, and so we were killing them with shotguns. We had a great hunt, dude. That was an awesome time.
It was.
Look at that mustache.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, good
The mustache.
mess.
Bring that
Sweat
back.
too, man. Look how sweaty I am.
Yeah.
And then talk about channel builders, dude. How to shoot a hunting bow for beginners?
Yeah.
That is like number 8 on our channel.
Apparently, you're a good teacher, man.
Oh, thanks. That did
yeah.
a bunch. And then
There's a bunch of vacation stuff
that,
for me.
I know this doesn't have a lot of views, but that Crescenti Cutthroat still gets comments.
Yeah.
And there's you hit a niche algorithm with that. And
yeah,
it worked.
all 9,400 people in the world that care to watch that have watched it, and that's all. There's no
That's right.
more. So
Did a lot
then,
of gear reviews, which I think are a big part of YouTube. And
Yep.
then this right here, the Map Scout Challenge stuff. I don't have this written down.
I have it written down on mine.
do you?
You?
Because
Okay.
you guys came to my hometown.
Were you?
No, this is the first year. We did this 2 years.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
So we went. Yeah, the second year we went to your hometown and did some scouting up there. But we decided to develop this series called Map Scout Challenge that we did, and Onyx, who is probably our oldest sponsor,
As
or
far
partner,
as
or whatever you want to call
partner that's been with us for a long time.
Yeah, they've been with
we
us.
haven't ever stopped working together.
Dude, I love Onyx. I will say, not only is the product just like a great product, and I don't have to ever feel like, well, most of it's good, but some of it's not. I mean, it's just great. I love Onyx. I love the people that work there that we've dealt with in the years, and I really, really can't tell you how much I appreciate people that believe in you, even when, you maybe don't have a ton of great things going on. They can see your potential or whatever. That means a lot to me.
Hey,
So,
there's new base layer maps right now on Onyx. That just
about
came
that?
out not long ago. If you haven't checked, they updated maps.
that's good. But anyway, we did the Map Scout Challenge, which was pretty cool. It did well for us. It kind of caused a stir that we didn't really anticipate. But, the random person here and there would be like, well, that's my spot, or whatever. And it's like, well, we tried to choose spots that weren't deep or whatever. Like we tried to not to burn spots. We're just showing how we scout more than anything.
And it's all a learning curve, right?
Yeah.
And I think the second year we stopped even saying beyond what state we were in.
Yeah, I wish that we could do more of these because I feel like a lot of people were thankful that we did this and learned a lot. And I learned a lot personally, too. And it's a really interactive, cool episode. It's got a ton of map stuff in it. And I felt like I can remember the series was like, and we were filming 1080, I believe, at the time, was like 700 gigabyte series for 10 videos. I mean, and I can remember just taking forever to put it all together. But that was basically our way to get through the summer and lead us into the 2020 season, where we got our first intern ever. And it didn't last long, but it was helpful for a while there to have Jack, our first intern. And he made a couple of videos, in South Dakota. Was that the first year we hunted South Dakota?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this South Dakota's on my list of memorable things because we killed, or we shot deer on the same night. You recovered yours. You smoked it. Mine, again, to add to my woes, I hit in the shoulder with 584 grain arrow, if I remember right, close to 600 grains, and didn't kill it. And,
Didn't penetrate hardly at all. It was wild.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But the footage is sick.
You know, you can't. There's at some point something is so dense and hard, and it's in the right spot that like you can't just send stuff through it, right? Like you're not going to send any arrow through a steel plate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that but the deer is that, but there's a big hard part that you could potentially hit on a deer. You know?
Yep.
But I can remember that was a great night. I remember there was like no wind. I've never slept that good in my
Dude,
life.
the experience of South Dakota, even you just keep me wounding the deer in there was still just epic. That place was it's an amazing spot.
We learned a lot too while we were up there, and we did a good job of being conservative and holding off until that night and going in there and just killing bucks, man. Which then led to come home, and then I headed to on a cold front. I headed to Illinois to hunt some public land, and Eric's home state. You probably loved seeing this video come out.
Yeah. Because I was hunting that same cold front, I remember.
Yeah. And I remember KC always talks about how it hit in Texas before it hit there.
That's right.
Because it was kind of sweeping
you
west
and Jack
to east.
were up there, and I was here. I was in the Brookshire's parking lot. It had just hit. It was like 12 p.m., and it's freezing here. And you're like, man, I was talking to you on the phone, and you're like, man, I'm not really fired up. And I was like, dude, it's about to be awesome. It's because it's like 80 degrees where you were. It's like 55
muggy.
here.
Yep.
Yeah. And sure enough, like, I think it started hitting about the time y'all got to the woods, right?
Well, yeah, and we didn't even hunt the first morning. We went around and marked ag and what was beans, what was corn, because I had a plan. But I knew that cold front was supposed to come in, and that if that happened, I would have the wind I needed for where we'd had a trail camera. When I went in and checked that trail camera that evening as the cold front had come in, there was a giant on there, and I was like, oh my goodness. So we scramble up a tree. That camera's on a scrape, so I'm basically hunting this scrape and some of the entrance trails. Scramble up a tree, and it wasn't an hour and a half probably. And I had Jack set up. The way I had to set us up in the tree was so that he would be able to see the deer coming from behind me. So I told him, hey, keep an eye. Well, he sees a deer. Who knows how quickly he saw him or how early on he'd seen him, but I knew they were coming before he saw them because I heard a snort wheeze, and I saw a little buck that we had hanging around looking back that way. And long story short, big deer comes in, and we had some miscommunication. He caught me kind of trying to see him, essentially, and when he ran out, the big buck I shot, which was also another really big buck, just a little bit smaller, came around and stood right where he was. He had vacated, and I shot him at 8 yards, and the camera wasn't, the camera wasn't on the deer. So because Jack thought we had spooked everything at that moment. So there's everything else is on video except for the shot. It's really cool, man. It's a cool video, but it is potentially my biggest 8-point ever shot. I mean, he's absolute giant, and that was a great night, dude. I remember staying up till like 12:30, which is late for me. It's in the hotel room,
Eating
just
pizza.
on Instagram, just like cruising, just being like so hyped still that I couldn't even sleep, And then we came back and did some more Texas hunting.
You killed a giant Texas public land buck.
You almost killed a big deer that pigs and another deer messed up.
Yeah,
right?
it was ridiculous. I mean, that was a great hunt. It was a good time. We had some pretty good weather too. It wasn't super cold, but it was like the persimmons were a big thing. There was a lot of deer around persimmons, and so we kind of targeted that. And I almost made the most of it, and you did.
Well, that may be the biggest Texas public land deer I ever shoot, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
toad.
We went back to Kansas, hunted some kind of, I think, mid-November stuff, early November stuff. You almost got stepped on again. And then
I was even closer to getting stepped on that time, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
And then
This is 2020. So
Yeah.
I had found out about the ranch buck somewhere a little after when I came home, basically, and was in Texas.
Yeah, so we hunted probably Kansas right there through like the 10th or 8th or something.
Yep.
And then
We left early because I had COVID.
oh, yeah, we both got sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you went home and found out ranch buck.
And I didn't know I had COVID. I was just sweating and feverish at night, and we weren't seeing nothing. It was hot, so we decided to go home. And on the way home, we're eating some Whataburger, and I'm like, these fries don't have any salt on them. And then it kind of hit us both. We were like, oh, you might have COVID because apparently you can't taste nothing when you have COVID. And I sure enough did. And so I got diagnosed with COVID. Started the ranch series because. The ranch buck series because I had seen that buck when I got back and couldn't do a whole lot besides just ride around the truck and hunt a little bit. And that ends up coming out later on the channel.
Yeah.
But late November, while I was hunting the ranch buck.
You couldn't leave.
Yeah.
So I went up by myself and tried a new piece of public I'd never been to before and hiked in like, what was it, 1.1 miles?
I think that's right.
I think, something like that. And did a self-film hanging hunt and shot what still is one of the biggest bucks in my life. I mean, that buck will probably always have a premier place in my home because it was just – that's the first mountain deer mounting – I can't say mountain because that means a different thing. First deer that I would mount that I'd ever shot. And, of course, it was wild. The recovery was weird. I had to leave him overnight. I had my tire slashed when I got back to the truck by another, I guess, jealous hunter or landowner or something. I don't know what it was, but and I ended up finding the deer. And I had talked myself into the fact that I wasn't going to find him, and we did find him.
And when you found the deer, it's one of the most like epic moments of element history, dude. Yeah, I mean it's outrageous because. And that's what we were talking about earlier is you leave 2019 with a bad taste in your mouth, and I don't know if I want to bow hunt kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, here we are. We kind of get through the rut, and it's just like, oh, this is scary. And then
this is November
23rd, I believe.
23rd, yeah. So, like, you feel like the rut's over.
Yeah.
You're like, you're not going to kill something.
Like I missed out again.
And then I grunt a deer in from 180 yards and shoot him.
And smoke him. And when you find this deer – it's like a relief that probably a relief of several years of like questioning yourself and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And just struggles with bow hunting, man. And it's all part of our walk, man, and our path and what we were,
Yeah.
supposed
I remember
to have
you
happen.
and I on the way home, you came up because I killed this deer to help me with recovery and pictures and stuff. And then we left at the same time too. I'm pretty sure you were there for like 17 hours or something.
Yeah.
It was real. I appreciate that.
I drove like 16. I don't know. I drove a bunch of hours in a 24-hour window or something like that.
But we were like, we were just talking on the phone in two different trucks, like and I can remember talking about like, man, maybe we can do this thing. Like it was like a little bit of a turning point for me that. We actually can film our hunts and maybe do this legitimately, as opposed to just being some guys on YouTube
It was
that nobody
huge, man.
watches.
It was a huge moment.
Hunter hits our channel about this time.
Yep.
Which y'all know Hunter Dickens. He's been on the channel quite a bit. There's Chong we were talking about.
Hunter was one of
earlier.
the first kind of helpers we had, and still helps us out today.
Chris Webb is also on our channel about this time the first time. And then, let's see, Todd catches a bass.
There's
That's
Eric's
great.
first film job. Talk about that, Eric.
Greg was there too.
I wasn't there for the hunt, but
Yeah.
I was in town, I guess, for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was the first time I ever met you guys.
Yeah.
Ice-mageddon.
Yeah.
I remember pulling up. Well, first off, I drove like late at night and got a hotel, and I remember like the whole drive, it was just like raining cats and dogs. And I was like, man, I don't know if I'm going to make it because like I could barely see the interstate.
I forgot that you drove because I was sitting here. I was like, man, I don't remember picking you up from the airport.
Yeah. The next morning, I met you guys at a gas station, and everything was iced over. Then
I remember meeting you at a gas station.
Yeah.
We had a interesting crew because Sam Hogan came down with a buddy, and we were putting on like a live event that was pretty successful. I don't know how many people.
It was
were there,
probably
like
going to be
50
more.
people?
It was going to be more successful, but the ice storm
Yeah.
canceled a
everybody
lot
off.
of people's trip. But yeah, I went out like the next day and filmed you shoot 4 hogs.
That was pretty sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, at one time.
And film me fall in the water too, I think.
Oh yeah, I
Like,
forgot about
yeah.
that.
These are still some of my favorite videos. We ran a trot line with your dad and Brennan Rhodes, one of your best friends, and there's just some gold in there. Just y'all talking about raising box tortoises, and you dropped your keys, throwing a cast net, and they went in about 5 foot of lake water, and you end up finding them after like 20 minutes of searching.
Yeah, I just got barefooted in the water, just trying to find.
Your dad
things.
got in for all of 60 seconds before you found them. I was like, man, if he could just find those real quick, I don't have to get in there either. Yeah. So anyway, speaking of Hunter, he and I went to Cabo. I went for my 10-year anniversary with my wife, and he took his wife down there too, and we fished. Caught his first marlin on the old Element YouTube channel.
That's Stephen Rennell's first appearance on the Element YouTube channel
Right here.
there. No, down below.
Right here.
Right there.
Yeah, sure enough, man. Good job, man.
How about that?
His brother's on here all the time, though.
All the time. Yeah. Here is Eric's hometown.
Yeah.
That was all my moment.
World record.
More Map Scout Challenge stuff that we were doing, and that was a fun year, man.
Yeah, it was.
We did a lot of cool stuff in Map Scout Challenge that year. Mm-hmm. Found mushrooms.
Dude, those were some days.
That Pennsylvania one's cool.
It
dude.
is cool, dude.
That big old black bear on camera.
Wish
awesome.
it had more views, but whatever. And then let's see. That again, Map Scout Challenge puts us in 2021 season. Leads us into it.
Nebraska 2021 season right there. That was an epic trip, dude.
Yeah, that was the first year you went to Nebraska,
yeah,
right?
I'm glad Eric wasn't there for that.
Me too, man. We tried to get Eric to come down. Listen, guys, we were all broke, okay? And we wanted Eric to come down, and I think he had to watch the Cardinals or something.
No, I had to work too. I was broke.
We weren't paying him. We weren't paying us. He was going to be an intern that year. And he's like, hey, I'm going to stay, and then I'm going to join you for October.
And we were like, okay, well, it'll be fine. We've been self-filming our whole lives pretty much. And we had gotten a little help the year before, but only for a short part of the season. And so Eric, had decided to spend the season with us, but kind of opted out of this. And we were like, whatever, it's going to be a tough hunt.
We may have even just not threw this together last minute, but this may have developed like within the month.
Yeah.
Like in August, I might have, because I was having to talk you into going to Nebraska.
Oh, for sure.
Because you had some.
I'd been 2 years in a row and seen tons of deer and been all over the state trying to find them and just not found anything. I couldn't find big bucks. That was the problem. So
and it's usually really hot and terrible and all this, right?
We do, yeah, and we go try another area.
And that was really hot and terrible too.
And
by
it
the way.
was. We actually
got stormed on. Like,
the worst.
I have a cool time lapse on my phone from that storm rolling in.
We should post that, man.
Yeah, it would be cool. And like one of the worst nights of sleep I ever had. Mm-hmm. We were in a tent, and it rained so hard that we had to get in the truck.
It blew so hard that I for sure thought we were in a tornado. I was like questioning, how close is this tornado to us?
We were so wet.
And then every time a drop would hit like the tent above your head, the spritz would come off of it and just blast your face.
It was a relief for the sun to come up.
Yeah,
that
for
way the
sure.
night could be over.
And and that's a cool video. We kind of did the same thing where we kind of compacted the whole trip into that video. It's really high quality footage. We worked really hard at that year. And we didn't have Eric. And the only It wasn't a big deal until I shot the buck, and he was out of frame when I shot him. But I was
Yeah.
really able to get him leaving pretty well. I had a good follow on that buck.
That was the fastest deer I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh!
My goodness. If you haven't seen it, it's called Opening Weekend Hunting Public in Nebraska, big buck at 3 yards. And, dude, it's a cool video. It's worth watching. It was a channel builder, you know. So then the year before, 2020, was the ranch buck year, and I ended up killing that deer the last day of November. And so we did a 10-part series where we released all the videos of that, like all these sections of the entire ranch buck full film, and led up to a release of the full film that included the last 10 or 15 minutes probably, where I actually, you know, have the last encounter where I do finally kill the deer. And whenever we released that full film, it did really well early on, and it has not stopped. It's at 1.2 million views right now.
Still the most successful whitetail film on our channel.
And so that was a big deal because I maxed everything out that I could to get this property so that I could live on it, but also because it had big deer. Because I had a place to live that it wouldn't have maxed me out at the time, and we were fixing to build, and we end up, you know, coming over here because I knew there was big deer back over here, and I could maybe, you know, shoot one. And lo and behold, it ends up paying off in a big way. Certainly blessed through that, man, big time. So,
Yeah. And then, I mean, talk about
that
following
deer.
it up.
Yeah, like I don't know, probably a couple weeks later, we released a video of a deer I killed after that buck in 2020, and later December, when I went back up to Kansas and killed a public land buck, and also had a run-in with a guy who threatened me that I couldn't be hunting there. And so, yeah, weird deal, man. We talked about it on the podcast, but he's scary. I was in my dad's truck, and I got the 9 out of the center console when I knew this guy was going to drive by me, because I had seen him start his truck up and everything. And I saw him check my dad's truck out before I got back to the truck. I was actually walking up, heard the truck coming down the road, so I backed off into the woods and saw him pull up to my dad's truck for like 2 minutes and do something. And I thought he tried the handle on the door. It sounded like, but I think, I'm not sure if he did or not. But anyway, he like pulled off and like waited for me and turned the engine off. So I was like creeped out, thinking he had a thermal and was going to try to kill me out in the middle of nowhere, you know, or something. So I ran up, left all my stuff, and ran up to the truck, got in the truck. He turns his truck on and starts coming after me, and I'm turning around to go the direction I need to go. And I'm trying to get the 9 out because I'm like, this guy is really acting creepy right now. We are out here. And he ends up telling me, you know, you can't hunt here. I better not ever see you again. And I said, well, why can't I? It's public land. And then he's just like I said, I better never see you again or something, and takes off. We had a podcast about it several years ago when it happened, 2020. Anyway, that video, I had to get my dad. I called my dad to come help me recover the deer because I was daggum scared to go back in there, you know. But yeah, that video released, and it's one of our most popular whitetail videos ever too. Over 500,000 views. Definitely a channel builder. And just some days, man, you walk out with a camera and everything comes together, man. And that was one of those days for sure. And then 2021, we had our buddy old Chadwick Rice from Cruiser Saddles meet us in South Dakota. And we had a big old crew. We camped and shot some bucks, Casey.
We did. And didn't make the best videos ever, funny enough. But we shot a bunch of deer, and then we ended up making one really good video. We were, you know, this is about our journey in YouTube, right? That's what this podcast is about. And this South Dakota trip is a big deal for that because we worked hard all summer trying to figure out YouTube analytics and understand how that works. And we're like, we're going to build the most retentive video. That means like people watching your whole video, right? The most retentive videos we can. So we made what's 1, 2, 3, 8,
10, I think.
10 videos from a South Dakota trip where $3 die, and
they probably average like 11 or 12 minutes.
And the retention's great on them, but the views are low because YouTube just doesn't show you just what you want to watch. They show you what they think you want to watch.
Yeah.
And so like it just didn't get shown to people.
And guess what? when we went and put them all together and made a 55-minute video, a bunch of people watched it. So it's just weird. And that's the thing that, you know, since we're talking about YouTube, YouTube's, it's a struggle because, you know, for one, they don't love hunting, you know.
Yeah.
They put up with it. But for another, I mean, you could have a, you know, how to hang a tree stand video that does really well. That's 8 minutes long, or, you know, or an 8-minute deer hunting video that doesn't get very many views, or you could put out an hour video of hunting that has a lot of views and an hour video of hanging a tree stand or something that doesn't have very many views. So it's really hard. It's unpredictable, and that's why it's meant a lot to us to get to 100,000.
But not to go too fast past this, Eric filmed his first deer getting shot.
That's
on that
right.
trip.
Yeah.
Really good footage too.
Yeah.
It was actually perfect.
It was perfect.
It was perfect.
He filmed Tyler shooting a 10-point and filmed me shooting an 8-point, and it got better. But
And
neither
Eric
of
came
us-
into this thing knowing some camera stuff. Like
Yeah,
you had
a little
been
bit.
filming and building a channel for a little bit. So it wasn't that you didn't know, but we put you on a different camera platform, and I mean, it's just
Yeah. Oh,
you
and
still
Eric
got to film it. You know?
goes home after this. It seems.
Did he?
Yeah, because he's not there for that East Texas hunting.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, he wasn't fully committed. But either way, Eric. The reason I'll point that out is that, you know, if we're being objective here, and this is a long way in the past, Eric did not film your deer very good at all, and then mine's out of focus. But I'm trying to progress to what is coming up.
Yeah.
I kill my biggest buck at the time ever on public land that he filmed as good as he possibly could have, and it was really, really cool. But like he just couldn't get the shot on film very good because it happened so fast. But you did a really good
I mean,
job.
you can see the shot, you can see his antlers, you just can't see the impact.
It all happens real fast,
Yeah.
right? But like you can see Eric's progression for how he's getting
Right.
better and understanding things, and then that pushes forward to probably one of the most famous archery shots on a whitetail ever.
Wow.
I would say,
I'm
I
glad
can't believe.
dude, the millions of views this has garnered from our channel and spam channels is
A
ridiculous.
lot.
I'm glad I got it figured out by then.
This is the old 18-point buck on public land that I shot at 50 yards. Eric nailed it, and I'll give you the tip of how we did it, how we nailed the focus there. As I said, he's at 50 yards or whatever, and I was like, the only reason I know that is because I'm not going to risk ranging him and peeking up above the grass, so I ranged a yucca plant out to the right of him, maybe 20 yards, 15 yards maybe, and I said, he's like, that's the distance. So I was like, focus on that yucca plant, and he did, and he nailed the focus on the yucca plant, which when we came up, then henceforth he's nailed focus. 4K footage, slow-mo. It's like we'd also sold out to buying a new camera because we wanted to be able to produce 4K footage and super slow-mo shots because that was just cool, you know what I mean, for us, and I thought people would enjoy watching it. You know, another thing I'd mention is Eric is living with me this whole time. So, like, I have 2 kids and a wife, and Eric is living in our upstairs, like, storage space pretty much.
This is
you
when
know?
Whitetail Bums like really started.
That's right. You were bumming. We
Well,
were
I guess
all bumming.
you guys started it really.
Yeah. And, you know, so we do that then, and we have those encounters. Then I had decided I was going to hunt some whitetails in Colorado that summer. And so I had done a lot of research, got the tag, and went to doing some Colorado whitetail hunting. It was very tough, and I have not done it since. But we had 3 videos come out from that series that were, I would say, did a good thing for our channel. Killed a buck, and I think I could have killed a much bigger buck, but we just had a couple of things that didn't go our way until all of a sudden it was just like, yeah, here's one he's a pretty good buck, and it's the last morning, so let's make this thing happen, you know. And that was, and honestly, the cinematography, the video work, the camera work on this series is some of the best I think we've ever had. I think, look at those shots, man. Like, just we had the scenery.
Yeah.
And Eric did a really good job nailing it too. He's always had a steady hand and
You
does a good
mentioned
job.
Anthony earlier. Anthony kind of has like a one-liner that you talk about a lot, right?
Yeah.
What is it?
Something along the lines of like, if you want to make beautiful footage, you got to go to beautiful places.
Yeah.
You know, and that's It's true, man.
It helps, but you still got to close, right?
Yeah. So later, after the season, we started to realize.
Here we go.
Well, you might want to talk about this first. I don't know, but we started to realize that pigs. People like to watch pigs get shot with bows.
Yeah, it kind of changed the trajectory of practically our lives, but our channel for sure. How I've lived my life hunting pigs. I've hog hunted my whole life, and well, I always kind of thought of them as a nuisance. I mean, y'all know this if you listen to the podcast. I've killed thousands of pigs between work and play, and we used to like shoot them and maybe not get footage of it, or just like think we were annoyed that there was pigs.
Yeah.
They're messing up our deer hunt, and then all of a sudden we start shooting pigs and saying, "Hey, let's film it." And then we end up with our first 1 million view video ever because we filmed a pig hunt.
Because the Ranch Buck had not hit 1 million at the time.
No.
And this one went super viral and got 1 million really quick. And that was our I mean, that and a couple of pig videos that did well before that filmed at my house. Then we thought we were going to be turkey hunters for a little while and fishermen
We
too.
were. We were both of those
You
things.
know, it wasn't a channel builder for us.
Bass fishing.
Bass fishing. I love bass fishing. You do too. We grew up doing it, and for some reason, whitetail DIY bow hunters don't love watching bass fishing. And I mean, because we made some really good videos, I thought, with some big bass in them.
Some good turkey hunting videos there too.
Yeah.
If y'all haven't watched this stuff, go back and watch it.
We need to make that a reel.
Which one?
What you're hovering over
Yeah,
there.
we do. You just scraping the bottom of the barrel there.
Yeah, that was good.
Stand up and shoot. You shot a Flushing turkey just like a pheasant.
Listen, it wasn't just like that. We called him in. I had a world champion behind me on that.
That's right.
We did a lot of really good off-season videos this year, too. I don't want to spend too much time on them because we kind of get rolling. But, like, we were getting in a groove right here. And actually, I don't want to say, like, producing good content, but actually putting valuable information on the internet. That actually means something.
Yeah,
there's some good stuff in here.
For sure.
There's also just some entertainment as well.
Yeah.
Then we kind of get into the season that Greg and Michael joined us on.
Yeah.
Greg filmed his first, I don't know. Is this your first filmed hunt?
The Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yep.
You never filmed any
Talk
of your own
about
stuff,
that a
anything?
little bit because neither one, KC or I, was there.
It was terrible till it wasn't.
Yeah. It's funny how many hunts that we go on with that one.
I
Yeah,
know,
we
dude.
were not seeing any deer, and finally we got to hunt a pretty good property that had like some deer on it, and me and Hunter, I filmed Hunter shoot a buck on the ground at like 30 yards.
It was awesome.
And it was pretty shaky.
Yeah.
Pretty shaky, out of focus.
It got real shaky after he shot, too. Yeah. This is where the Greg fist pump was developed right here.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a left-handed fist pump, like fist pump, like the thing,
Yep.
And then it was just about that time that Eric and I headed to Colorado to the high country, and we hunted 12,000 foot up in the air or whatever, in the mountains. And I would say several times I have mentioned that this is not a hunt that I care to do anytime soon again right now.
But it was a big deal for us, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
was.
You shot a nice buck, and y'all did it. Like, as far as, like, documenting a whole hunt, I don't know if there's another one that is done as well. It's just like the whole thing is captured correctly.
For sure. It was done really well. Thank you. And the video did really well for us. Another channel builder. I think it's got over 400,000 views, looks like.
Well, that video is neat, I think, because it is not our standard vein, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like DIY whitetails, what our channel is mostly about.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of like this is the only mule deer that dies on our channel.
Yeah.
And it's high country mule deer hunting. It's not something we even get to do, but it was well appreciated.
There's two.
Sport.
Sport. Sport. We're just not there yet. We're just not there yet.
We forgot. Yeah, that's right. I haven't gotten there yet. At the time, it was that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that deer actually died above 12,000 feet. So, and he was below me when I shot. So, Yeah. Then this is a very infamous deal that happened. You have to really quickly address.
I drew the wrong tag in Arizona and drew a cow tag, and we went and shot one.
I thought it was your first choice.
It was. It's just the wrong tag. I didn't mean to draw that one.
And the shot was so good, we just had to censor it.
That's right. Yeah, Greg, he would be a good Bigfoot documentarian at this point
That's
in his
right.
life.
That's right.
Lots of fuzzy footage.
Yeah. So the year before, actually, we ended the season with a really cool happening, and then we didn't put it out until September, October, or whatever of 2022. But talk about that, KC.
So this is the A team, and this is the birth of Buck Truck. Actually, no, excuse me. South Dakota that year was the birth of Buck Truck. Mm-hmm. But this kind of like carved it in stone.
Yeah.
Right. Tyler and I went to Oklahoma late season, pretty much because I still had a tag and thought we might as well go hunt because we had some time in our lives. I guess we didn't have anything better to do. What a bunch of losers.
I had COVID too.
Yeah, we were both sick, coughing our heads off.
I had the sweats
I forgot
bad.
about that. And somehow devised a plan to set up in saddles within a cattle corral that the deer were drinking water in. Mm-hmm. It was bad drought, and I shot probably the oldest buck I'll ever shoot. He's got abscesses in his teeth and all that, and about as smoked as I've ever smoked a deer. And it's funny because the comments on it, Tyler and I are set up in separate trees, probably 10 yards apart. Mm-hmm. And so his angle makes the shot look a lot different than it is. It's a frontal for me, and I demolished this deer. It sounds like I seen a T-post through a watermelon. I mean, it is... I love this. I love this so much. And then the deer just hauls out and tries to break a fence down and doesn't succeed. And we get him. It was pretty cool.
After that, a video from the South Dakota trip released, and it was Hunter's most popular video ever on our channel, where he shoots a deer kind of frontal, has a really iffy shot, dramatics. We find the deer the next day and loses his mind. It was a really nice buck.
That was
Public
fun.
land, South Dakota deer.
Yeah.
Right there. We used to say that all the time. Right there.
Used to.
Yeah.
Oh, we still do, yeah,
And then
occasionally.
the bombs do their thing. Well,
then-
Greg killed a deer on our channel right here.
So, yeah.
At
Is that your
home
first
property.
buck killed on our channel?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the first kill on the channel right there.
That's your
Congrats,
home
man.
property.
And then
then-
whitetail bums do their thing.
This is a year's worth of happening right here, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yep, that was my first buck ever after 6 years
Yeah.
trying to shoot one.
Yeah, it's and you did it on Texas Public.
I did, yep.
Wow. You couldn't find an easier deer to kill than a Texas public deer?
I know.
Golly.
Came all the way down to Texas to do it.
Yeah,
They killed that deer, and I killed a deer later that day,
yeah,
and wouldn't have killed it if Eric hadn't have killed his that morning.
Because we did the cameraman shuffle.
Because we did the cameraman shuffle.
You were filming me that morning.
Yep.
And then I guess Michael
Michael was-
filmed Tyler.
Yeah.
and
But he was hunting too,
you got poison ivy.
Yeah, Spike
right?
Mike.
yeah.
That's where Spike Mike was.
Was
I
he
think-
hunting that
No,
morning?
he filmed you that morning. And
Yeah.
y'all were like a big one you were going to shoot.
Michael skinned a spike.
And, yeah, spiked him. Yeah.
Yeah, and he wouldn't let us put that on the channel.
That's
so.
where the nickname Spike comes from.
Yeah, he shot a spike and cut the hair off the top of him.
But look at you boys killing 2 public land
We
bucks
almost
the same
killed
day.
3 public land bucks in the same day.
Yeah.
On Texas Public. It was an amazing day.
And then
That was in December, right?
Yep.
early December.
Early December.
Yeah. And then you didn't kill deer, but that deer gets its eye picked by a bird.
Yeah, that was
Which
nuts.
you might want to remember that deer.
For sure, you definitely do.
And then the infamous 10-second flash transition
Axis
is
deer.
an axis deer.
Thank you,
so
Mike.
as these guys come on and start working with us, they learn new skills, and it's we put them through some quick learning curves on some things. And this was Michael's first video to edit himself, I believe, and that axis video kind of had a couple funny things happen in it that we look back now and laugh at.
Mm-hmm.
And then this here red pig video is some of the cooler pig footage we have. another 1 million view video that we have. It's pretty awesome.
But also during all this stuff, this is, Buck Truck was being filmed.
Yeah, we didn't talk any about
Yeah,
that.
that's why that season seems so short.
That's right.
We have a Buck Truck video further up.
Yeah.
Let's just do all the Buck Truck talk then. Does that
Yeah.
sound good?
Yeah.
But that's
dude,
why the season seems short.
that turkey hunt right there of Tyler's in Missouri.
Big
I
trout,
forgot about
man.
that part.
Yeah, Casey
Biggest
caught
trout
his
of my life.
biggest trout of his life in Missouri in some random
Wild
creek.
trout.
Yep.
Random creek. Weird.
Killed a giant gobbler that gave us a show, and it was my first Eastern.
Yeah.
Thanks to Adam
Beautiful.
Keith and Landon Legacy. And then there's our most viewed video ever
Most viewed video ever.
that summer.
Barely nick a big boar pig, and then I smoke one of 3,000 little hogs that came in and they just gave us a show, man. I don't know. It is just it's just a good hunting video.
Yeah.
There's not a lot to it. It's nothing super crazy, but it is cool, and it felt good to rip that little pig.
In 8 months, it has amassed 3.4 million views.
Insane.
Oh,
Not
that's
really
crazy.
slowing down too much.
Yeah. And then this brings us to this season, man.
Yeah.
This is 2023, right? Mm-hmm. And we did our first pronghorn hunting.
We did our first pronghorn hunting.
This is about near the anniversary of Greg and Michael joining the element
Right now? Yeah.
during this antelope hunt. And we learned real quick that we need rifles for these things.
Greg kills a spork.
Can you clarify what a spork is?
Spork is a spike and a fork.
So he's got 3 points.
So he's a spork.
Kind of like a papoon.
It's kind of like a fapoon, yes.
I forgot about spoons. The Buck Truck released on the Element channel here, though. It doesn't have a ton of views, but it's got a whole lot of views on the Meat Eater YouTube channel. And if you've been following us, you know that we now put content on the Meat Eater channel as well. And it kind of forced us to take our 22 season and send a lot of it elsewhere. But it was worth doing for us, and I'm glad we did it because it helped us grow tremendously. And within that, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bucks died on Buck Truck. It was 7 episodes.
Yep.
Right? And it was the most chaotic and probably funnest year of my life as far as hunting goes. Because we did a unique thing where Tyler and I committed to being together pretty much the whole deer season instead of like going different directions and trying to optimize what we were doing. And, Tyler selflessly had some situations where that kind of impaired his season because I take a long time to kill things sometimes. But the whole Buck Truck, the 22 season opened with an infamous Nebraska double, which was bad to the bone, man. That was a fun night. I struggled, chase them around on the ground, and then you and I decided to team up, hike a long ways back in somewhere and get in a tree. And I made one of the best shots I ever made on a deer. That was like a poke. How far was that? 46 yards?
47.
Yeah, it was out there.
Yeah.
And I just didn't even think about it. I was like, I just ranged it, dialed, and shot, and smoked him.
Oh, dude, and the sound.
Watched him fall. The blood is great. And then we're like kind of having a party, and it's early. So I'm like, man, Tyler could shoot one too, kind of like joking around. And sure enough, Greg and I hear, and then what was going on in your tree? Because we were set up 80 yards from one another.
Yeah, we were. Basically on kind of opposite sides of a transition, essentially. And we had a little bachelor group of 3 bucks come in and get real close. And I knew that the trail that was crossing the fence was like, if they got to about the fence crossing, they were probably going to smell us. But I could shoot them before then. Well, these deer kind of they smell us, and then they're kind of being early season young dummy bucks, and they kind of walk to us, and then they freak out and leave. And it wasn't like 10 minutes later probably, and I hear something walking back in the cedars, and I look. I told Michael, hey, I hear something walking. Get my bow in my hand, and I'm looking, and I see him coming through, and all I can see is legs and belly. And I knew immediately it was a shooter because the belly was so big and just a small butt, And he comes out, and it's one of the bigger, public land bucks I've shot.
There he is.
He's on the wall now, yeah, and it's just a big old Nebraska 9-point comes out.
It's a pretty buck.
And he just I draw back pretty early on. Michael said I'm on him. I was like, wow, this is cool. We're ready to go. And I was like, I'm just going to let him see if he'll stop instead of grunt stop him because I had a long ways before he got to my wind. Like he probably had to walk 25 yards before he got to my wind. And it was quiet, yes. Mm-hmm. So I did not grunt stop him. And he walks like halfway to my wind and just stops broadside and looks straight forward. And 28-yard shot, might be the best shot I've ever made. I mean,
smoked him.
As far as just being on the money. I guess it'd be hard to argue the 50 the heart shot, but this is right there, man.
So that was awesome. Also in Buck Truck, the next place we stopped was South Dakota. Tyler had some unfortunate events unfold with a really big buck that he shot and didn't recover. I ended up shooting quality 8-point after a really difficult week. It was super dry and hot, and we finally had a cold front, went in, set up, and smoked him. That was awesome. Then we went to Illinois, where we thought,
worst son of my life, pretty much.
We thought it was going to be the slam dunk. We're shooting
Dawn
160. And Candy Kitski. I don't know which one of us is Candy, which one's Dawn, but we are,
I don't know either.
How about Don and Lee? That makes more sense, right? But it was not, in fact. We'd gone up, done some scouting on this place. It's like over 1,000 acres of private, with corn and beans on it. So this is going to be awesome. And it was probably, as far as whitetail encounters, one of the worst hunts of my life.
And I think nationwide, a lot of people struggled that week, too. Mm-hmm. So I think it could have been better.
It was fun because we have fun doing everything we do, right? But it was super difficult, and finally on the last evening, we're getting close enough to November dates, I think, essentially, that we both have some daylight encounters, and I end up getting to shoot a really great, I'd call him an 8-point. He kind of has tiny little crab bump things on the end of his antlers, but it was a dramatic thing. The buck splashing around in the water, going wild, and I was super thankful to kill the deer. Then we drove home and stayed home for 18 hours and went to Kansas.
Yeah.
That was talk about some quick turnarounds that we had that season.
Yeah, we did. It was a rough season, man.
And but you went in and hunted a stand on the first evening that had 0 humans there probably in 3 months?
Yeah, easy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't know what was coming in or nothing. And in 90 minutes we have a nice 120-inch buck coming in, and as he's leaving, a shooter comes in and smoked it.
Smoked it. There he is on the wall.
Yep.
I like this. We can look at him on the thumbnail.
That's
we
right.
Look at him on the wall. and then another time, whenever Tyler has things happen early, and then he has to wait on me to kill stuff, I struggle, and then we make phone calls and call somebody and get permission to go hunt this piece of private. I get deathly sick that night with a stomach bug, spend most of the night awake, sick, and then somehow muster the ability to go hunt that next morning and then rattle in a deer from 450 yards away that ends up being one of the biggest deer in my life.
Widest buck ever.
Widest buck ever. I don't know if I'll ever shoot one over 21 inches wide again. I mean, it's a pretty hard thing to do. And just, that was just the best moment of my season for sure that year. But then from there, we went to Oklahoma and had some really hot weather, but I had some inside info on some trail camera data and a place that I had scouted before and felt really good about, and then went in and also shot one of the biggest 8-points I'll probably ever shoot.
On public land.
On public land. And
I almost killed one on public land.
You did. We both had a good morning that morning.
Ugly. I was mad.
Yeah. And then that was the last buck that you or I shot on Buck Truck. You shot a doe in Arkansas with Clay. That was a big deal because that was a hard hunt.
Yeah.
And then
also missed a buck on that trip.
Yeah. We saw another big one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a much better hunt than I did on that hunt. It was just, I think you spent a little more time on the ground than I did, and it made a difference. And then we went and hunted some ground in Texas, and neither of us killed, nor did Mark Kenyon. But Greg shot him one.
Greg of the Creek.
Greg of the Creek shot him one down there, and that finished out our buck truck series. So, way to go, guys.
So then we came back to 2023.
2023, the just real recent years here.
Yeah. We start out in Nebraska, and there's a lot of things that haven't hit the channel yet too from 2023, or might go on the Meat Eater channel. So we won't talk about them because they haven't built our channel yet. But
yeah, we'll just go through what's on YouTube.
This is we had an awesome hunt in Nebraska, and I got to put my buck on our channel, which I'm happy about. Shot an awesome big buck out of a hay bale blind in Nebraska. Missed him on the first shot and had to shoot him at 60 on the walk, and maybe that one was the best shot of my life.
What else is in that video, Eric?
2 does getting smoked.
That's right.
Eric shot 2 does in like a minute and a half one another, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, smoked them. Watched
Man,
them fall.
That footage is good too.
Yeah,
I wonder who shot that
I wonder who
footage.
filmed that. Golly, I was filming somebody else shoot at does at that time too. Did you know that?
Yep. Then
Yeah.
time was ticking.
Time was ticking. Well, the rest of us had a real difficult time in South Dakota. Tyler killed near South Dakota. It's on the Meat Eater channel. Then we go home to Texas, and Tyler has some inside information on some public ground, and apparently has something figured out there. Because remember that deer we talked about getting pecked in the eye?
I pegged buck down.
You pecked him.
Yep, I pegged him with a bow.
Yeah.
Really. Like, I don't know, he has a really awesome frame, but just a little bit smaller bodied deer than the one I shot in 2020.
East Texas, man.
Yeah.
Well, all they have to eat is like pine needles and dirt and stuff around here, and bottles that flow down the creeks.
Yeah.
Like it's just nothing good.
Yeah. So
And then Hunter Dickens also killed an East Texas buck.
same night, doubled up. Mm-hmm. That was an awesome deal. We were actually able to go drive over to him and help him out, and help him with recovery and stuff. So that was cool.
Way to go, guys.
Spike.
And then Spikel. Me and Michael went back to South Dakota because we had a tough go around the first time and tried to like really capitalize on a super late cold front in October. And I ended up shooting like a really great buck in South Dakota.
I feel like within a year or so, this video is gonna be one of the top couple
It could
of
be.
few
This
videos.
video is very successful. It also, we aren't talking about shorts at all, but like, the short for this video has generated a whole lot of
Yeah.
traction. I'm super thankful for that deer. It was the most dramatic hunt of my life. I don't ever care to go through what it took to actually go from the first arrow released to put my hands on this deer ever again.
Mm-hmm.
But it happened. We documented it, and it's out there for the world to see. And it's not that I have anything like to be ashamed of. It was just a difficult thing. But I'm thankful for it, for sure. And it's, in the past year of what got to make it to the Element channel, it's done really good on the channel. So I'm glad that we were able to do that. Mm-hmm. And then Hunter Dickens, again, shot the widest deer that's ever existed.
Hunter the Hunter.
On public land in Texas. It's not inside of a fence, even though some people think it is. And Hunter is not a wizard, even though he looks like one. With his,
I took his little tip off that hat right there.
Did you?
Yeah, I
Dang.
made it a little less pointy.
Should've left it.
So look at it in
oh,
that.
man.
Golly,
Oh, my
dude.
goodness. What
If you
goofy
hover
guy.
over it with your mouse, the video plays for like 3 seconds, and he has got the tallest
Yeah.
orange head
Like, how are
ever.
you supposed to frame that?
Yeah, for real. So
else.
you cutting that off for sure.
Greg,
Yeah,
you tend to kill deer.
I've killed a couple.
Yeah. You kill one there on your family property, right?
Yeah, that's probably my favorite video that I've self-filmed so
Yeah.
far. And
What about the one that hasn't released yet?
it might be once it releases.
Might be
my-
good.
Pretty
my favorite.
cool.
Pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Hey, this hog video here is actually doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tyler and I kind of really struggled to do something we thought we were decent at, and that's kill pigs. And then we end up shooting like the fattest
Oh,
couple pigs you've ever
dude,
seen.
they're sitting in my freezer right now, and we're gonna make all kinds of good stuff out of
are.
them. I got a whole pig head in my freezer that's gonna make barbacoa. We got fat galore off these things. It's good food.
And
man.
then that kind of rounds out our channel. We have a couple recent videos. There's a good video of a breakdown of our camp setup from when we travel. And then the one that I mentioned earlier of us canning venison in a pressure cooker. It's kind of a neat thing. And guys, if you haven't subscribed to the Element channel, you're missing out. I don't know why you listen to this podcast if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, unless you don't have a YouTube account, which I understand. But I'm thankful for the past 7+ years we've been doing this thing and the footage that we've been able to accumulate and put out there for the world. Thank y'all for watching it. Thank y'all here in the room for the help in making this thing happen. And, man, a lot of great memories preserved here on the YouTube channel. And I think you talk about this a lot, right? Like, you like to go back and watch this stuff a whole lot because, I don't know, it's hard to remember some of the really awesome stuff that happened. And then you watch, and you're like, oh, man, I'm glad we have that kind of preserved.
You just forget the cool things that happened and stuff. And forget what you used to look like back before you had kids and you're tired all the time, you know?
Golly. I need to go shave just to look a little younger. Yeah. Well, guys, remember to cherish the good times and remember this is your element.
Live in it.
Hey guys, turkey season is in full swing right now, and if you are planning on getting after it, make sure to pick up some Meat Eater Phelps turkey calls to stuff into the old turkey vest or into your fanny pack right now. I carry a few different things. I like to use mouth calls, and I like to use pot calls. Mouth calls or diaphragms, I like them because it gives you hand-free calling, meaning when you're working a bird up close, you can have your gun on your knee, finger on the trigger, ready to roll, and still be making turkey sounds. I like pot calls. I just like pot calls. I enjoy calling with a pot call. Whatever direction you go, including a box call, which I don't personally use too much, but they're fun and great, and I started out with them. Yanni, on the other hand, one of my main turkey hunting buddies, he loves box calls. And what's funny is I'll now and then look to him and give him the look that means get out your box call and find us a turkey. So it's not that I don't like them. I just have Yanni use his. Then I don't have to carry it. Go to Phelps Game Calls. Get calls that are made in the USA and get calls that'll get them close. Find yours at phelpsgamecalls.com today.